We're in the belief change business. We're in the belief change business. Our clients come to us with the belief that I can't. And they rely on us to help them walk out with the belief that I can. And that's our job, is to help them believe that they can achieve whatever it is they need or want to achieve. We're in the belief change business, which is really good news for us because beliefs are really phenomenally easy to change. Go with me on this metaphor for a moment. Remember in the olden days, everybody thought the world was flat, right? Even in current times, there is still a flat Earth society. And they have members all around the globe. Very interesting, isn't it? But at some point, everybody thought the Earth was flat. And so they didn't stray very far from home because they were afraid they would fall off the edge. Well, those darn adventurous Vikings sailed off in the ocean. They went for a long, long time. And everybody still believed they were going to fall off the edge. But you know what? When they showed back up, alive and well with great stories to tell, the belief changed like that. Viking Cruise Lines was born and everybody booked vacations because the belief changed just like that. The belief that I'm going to fall off the edge was split up. Now, some people still believe it. So not everybody took the Vikings suggestion, but that's okay. As Bob Burns says, some will, some won't, so what?
So the criteria really for being able to work with golfers is to have that empathy. If you've never worked with golfers and you don't play golf or any other sport for that matter, my theory is the key is empathy. The key is to be able to listen to the person, and hopefully you're doing this already anyway, but listen to that person, listen to the way that they talk about their game, and then bring that back in and feed it back to them within the session. And I'm sure I'm not teaching you anything new there. But it took me a little while to understand that. And I did have a meeting with a business coach who wanted to do some work with me. And he said, I want to know exactly how you do this. And I said, I'm going to listen to what you say, and then I'm going to feed it back to you. And he said, yeah, you're already doing that in this conversation. So it must be something now that I do quite naturally as well. So you can use this in any other, I know somebody's popped down there, love to, Brendan, love to work in high performance. The zone is really good for any performance work, whether it's that person picking up the phone to make those telephone calls for their business, whether it is sport related. This focus zone and anchoring that into something is absolutely critical from my point of view. I've already mentioned that I don't play golf. The client is the expert. So I work with golfers from serious amateur upwards. They don't need to be professional. I've got some professional professional golfers I work with on a regular basis as well. But actually, most of my clients are serious amateurs. And as mentioned in the bio, most of the ones come to me because they want to enjoy their game more. It's not always about being competitive. It's sometimes about just enjoying their game. It might be their stress release. It might be their escape from day-to-day life, or it could be, yes, that they want to be competitive. Realistically, I think all golfers will say, no, I'm not competitive, but they are. They all want to do better. They all actually want to do better, which leads really nicely into measurables, because it is something that you can measure quite easily. Some sports are not so easy to measure. Boxing it's a win or a lose. That's a simple measurement for that one. Whereas with golf, we get that nice progressive measurement of an improvement in a score or a reduction in a handicap over time. The measurement of their ability to play golf is their handicap measurement. So there are some quite good measurables that we can work with. So I build the sessions around a long enough time, only 4 sessions, but I build them around a long enough time so they start to see these changes.
So preventative beauty practices, yeah, they are necessary. We must work to prevent. When we are aware of how we can prevent, with the education, methods and rituals that are easy and effective, we can expand our awareness and invest in slowing down the aging process as part of our daily routines. And I don't have a magic wand, although I do have a magic wand. It doesn't work. But what I mean is, I do know that if you follow even a few of the rituals, it does work. You know, with so many anti-aging skincare products on the market, it's often no surprise to learn that the best solutions do not come in a bottle, or they do not come in a tube. You know, the last place most people would search for the secret answers and solutions is their incredible mind, you know, working power of their own subconscious mind. You know, sometimes the answers are there all along. However, we don't know what we don't know. I think many people are looking in the wrong places for the answers. You know, if we open up to possibilities, you know, what have we got to lose? After all, you know, the only thing you should want to lose is a closed mind.
I was excited to tell you guys about the linguistics and that artificial intelligence is coming for language. I was going to tell you guys that there's technology coming that's going to be conversational, and it's going to be transformative. The reason I partnered with the Scriptnosis thing with Jason Lynette, Titan Lanero, and I was because I saw this coming, and I said, this is what we need to be doing. We need to be labeling hypnosis in an intelligent way. The reason I shifted to getting away from seeing clients is so I could do this work in artificial intelligence. And I was going to tell you, it's going to understand English better than people speak English. It's going to pay attention to nuance in a way that nobody is ready for. It's going to be incredible. And now a lot of you have played with Chat GPT or heard of this GPT-3 thing, this artificial intelligence thing that people are talking about. And now you're like, oh yeah, I've used it. Oh yeah, I get it. And it's going to go fast. And part of this piece, this is not mandatory. And some of you might hear this part and just go, this part doesn't apply to me, and that's fantastic. If you think 2020 was transformative to your career, if you think COVID impacted the way you see clients, artificial intelligence is going to change the way you see clients 10 times more. For sure, not even close. Having artificial intelligence in the mix with what we're doing is going to unlock creativity and reduce time of toil in a way that most people aren't really understanding yet. So just to put it really simply, when I first started seeing clients, in the column, I had this, I would make notes of just VAK, because I would keep track of visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And I just little slash marks in the margin. And I would just kind of, and if they said the word, see or picture a lot, or if they said, I'm a big photographer and I love drawing, okay, that's a couple more V's. If they said, I'm a musician, I just love hearing music and this all sounds good to me, okay, this is an auditory person. And I did that thing, just kind of keeping track. My artificial intelligence system now does that for you. Keeps track of the person's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic stack in ranked order. It does it for me automatically. I don't even have to press a button to make it start. What's a person's priorities? Oh, this person cares more about facts. Oh, this person cares more about feelings. Oh, this person cares more about relationships. Oh, this person cares more about their ego. Oh, this person cares more about X, Y, and Z. The system's paying attention to that for me and lets me know, hey, if you want to get leverage with this person and you want to collaborate and brainstorm, here's the way to do it.
Go ahead.
Yep. Hi. First of all, I want to make a comment, and that is I'm a registered nurse, and I've been studying lifestyle changes for health for many years. And I just have to say, initially, I thought you must be a medical person because your research and your medical insights are spot on. They are spot on. Physicians know nothing about nutrition. They know nothing about diet. And for any, in the USA anyway, which is where I am, and I still work, by the way, as a nurse in a hospital. We have such a fragmented healthcare system, and we have a healthcare system that never looks at a whole person anyway. The hopelessness for these morbidly obese people is just heartbreaking. And so what are the options? The options are surgery and diet and exercise. So to hear this is wonderful. It's exciting. I'm really impressed, but I also have a question, and that is, do you ever do group work or is it always one-on-one?
I I think group work can happen. The only thing is that eventually some people get left behind. Because remember, it's the client that decides they're ready to go to the next level or the next stage. So eventually there becomes this sort of discord where some clients are ready, other clients aren't. And so I have offered group work. I have not had takers of that. I mean, it could be a lot cheaper, but my next thing is to do a sort of video version that can be available, because I don't need to make a lot of money. I'm 62, for heaven's sakes. What, you know, I don't need to be a bazillionaire, but you know, something that I could make available that people can just sort of buy and move through at their own pace. I'm afraid that a lot of people can't. They think if they buy the book, they can do that, and a lot of times they can't.
But the main problem is somnambulic state, for example, is a deep trance. For some people, it's not the case, and they say, okay, we can do therapy, we can work in our self-therapy with this level and with this depth when I am in somnambulic state, because I'm in deep state. For me, it's not a deep state. It's the state that we need to walk with ourselves in self-hypnosis, or when we are in session, in ethereal hypnosis. But deep trance, it's more what we know like SDL states, secret states, and some type of hyperemparia when we go very high. And we know that Jerry Kine work with ultra height. This all ultra stuff is for me a trance, and a deep trance, a really deep trance. But the other question is the deep trance, secret states, SDL states, are hypnosis? And for me, we are not in the normal case of hypnosis, because a lot of time hypnosis is the ability to have a feedback, a good feedback about a suggestion. But when we are in SDL states or in secret states, a lot of time we are disconnected from our hypnotist. That's why it's always interesting to use and work with deep trance in self-hypnosis. Because for me, when we are cut from the suggestion of the hypnotist, we are not in hypnosis. We are in other use of the trance. Everybody is not agree with this idea. Some people say, okay, deep trance, like SDL states, are hypnosis. Others say no. I remember Carl Banyan, for example, when we talked together about that, say, hey, for me, it's not a hypnosis state. It's another trance state. And I quite agree with that.
Bringing in these other modalities really expedites, and it actually uncovers things that might not have been uncovered just in the way that I'm doing my service, because I'm not knowledgeable on how to assess Enneagram, or I don't, take the training about astrology interpretation. Not that only coupling with those types of services is a way to kind of evolve, this brand of hypnotism, but I do wish that there were more services out there for any number of niches. Relationships, athleticism. Yes, there are specialists who work as hypnotists, and yes, there are specialists in other modalities. And so a client could go and choose, the best of the best, or the best in their area. But wouldn't it be great if we found other partnerships and really recognized the value of hypnosis, which is sort of that clean slate for the brain, and then these other tools that do whichever the other tools do. I mean, I look at everything that's happening is occurring in the mind. And so hypnosis is able to do everything. But like I'm telling you with Enneagram and astrology, it just sometimes brings maybe a different context, maybe a changed focus that the client may not have decided on if they weren't working with me. For example, they might come into the hypnosis meetings after working with those other professionals and decide that they have some, stagnation in their ability to relax. Whereas with me, if they were working solely with me, they wanted to just focus on being more effective and productive.
If I tell a client that because they can hear this anxious voice so often and it's nagging them all day, every day about this thing they're not happy with, how easy would life be if it was actually giving them solutions? If it was helping them notice all the success and joy and love and positivity in their life. If it was like an internal cheerleader cheering them on to success, how would that feel? They're usually pretty excited about that opportunity. And the whole time I'm doing this sort of thing, I know that anxious part inside is listening to me. And so when I start hypnosis, I know I'm going to get communication with this part a hell of a lot easier. And I want to help this part feel understood. Like if we go back to the overprotective parent analogy, if you just tell an overprotective parent, shut up, we don't want to hear that, they're not going to stop, because that doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't recognize the purpose. When you connect with an overprotective parent and you see that they're coming from a point of love and safety, but you acknowledge that message of what's there and you help connect with learning, then you actually get somewhere. I found a quote a few years ago from a guy called David Barlow saying so much of what anxiety is about is overestimating the risks and underestimating the resources. And that is the perfect quote I have ever found that describes anxiety, because it is all about that. You've got these little tiny problems that have been just overblown, and you've actually got all these resources from past experiences that are being ignored because of one mistake. And connecting with boosting the resources and decreasing the risks while still being realistic helps anxiety not disappear but change. So I never want to make anxiety vanish. I want to adapt it, because it's one of the most powerful parts of somebody's subconscious already. It can be heard, and it loves them, and it wants to keep them safe.
And so these different inductions that we've used do still have all of the same elements of the original Elman induction. So the pre-talk, invitational eye closure, physical relaxation, fractionation, deepening, and suggested amnesia. And now, there, hey, that worked. This was just a fancy new little thing that I only just discovered yesterday, so I quickly put it all together. And so we still use all of these things, and then there's a few other things that I add on top of that, proprietary things that, if you decide to join the course at some point, you'll find out about. But I know that a lot of folks will say that the Elman induction is perfect all on its own, so it's best not to alter it. And I don't disagree. I don't. It's just that for the work that I'm doing, where I'm inviting highest consciousness work or multi-dimensional consciousness work, I need to get a little bit beyond just the subconscious. And I think, Dave Elman himself was a pioneer of thinking outside of the box. So while his original induction is still, in my opinion, one of the very best out there, definitely the gold standard, I believe he would also be tickled to see how some of us have adapted it, often due to necessity, like suddenly being thrust into a post-pandemic world where we're doing most of our work online. I don't think that he would have, prophesied that, but it adapts well, doesn't it? I mean, those of us who are using it, we've found ways. And one thing that I love about the spirit of scientific exploration is that nothing is ever set in stone. It's not. It might be a bit reductive sometimes, but it's not prescriptive. And anyone who says now this right here is the only way to do X, Y, Z is kind of missing the entire point of the spirit of scientific exploration. So
This is pretty common that we see here, kids trying to please their parents because they feel that if they don't, sometimes they don't have the love. So this boundary here, it can go away, but that shouldn't be the way that we feel. So for example, if we have that pretty good established, then this mom is looking at the world as a dangerous place. This kid is going to look at that and say, whoa, if the big one is looking at danger, then I should look at that too. And this is going to be the same thing until we die. I'm 32 and I still look at my mom this way. And it's funny because I hurt my cheek like on the first year of the year, and it started bleeding and it was like big, and I was worried. I was like, oh my God, should I go to the doctor? Should I take something? What's happening here? And I remember I called my mom. It was like a couple weeks ago. I called her and I have like a big ball here. It was terrible and it was funny. And the first feeling that I had when I called her and I FaceTimed her and she looked at me and she started laughing and she was like, whoa, it looks like you have a ball in your mouth. And then I was like, okay, I feel better, because if you're looking at me and you're laughing, it means that there's no danger. And I'm 32. Can you imagine what a 6-year-old would think? And I'm rationalizing it. The 6-year-old won't. He's just gonna feel it. So we have to have that pretty good established. So that's why on my first session, I would never allow the kid to come. And I'm gonna look for that. I'm gonna look if this mom is good at being a mom. Because if she's expecting something from her kid, she is being your daughter. No, you shouldn't expect anything. You have to do what you have to do. And if your kid looks at you and gets mad and frustrated, you still love her. And that's it. That's unconditional love. You are doing what you have to do because you love so much that kid, that mini creature, that you want to do everything that you know that is the right thing. So that's what I'm going to look for on this first session.
So what we have to let go of in order to get your outcome would be a way to say it. Well, so one of the things that we all know is you have to get, in order to get an outcome therapeutically, you have to let go of the thoughts and beliefs and behaviors and attitudes and emotions that are incongruent with that outcome. We were all taught, and many of you have similar teaching, and I know depending on who your trainers are, you know, you've seen different things, but I sort of came up through the NLP community. It's just sort of where history and time led me. And we were really strongly encouraged that there's certain requirements for what a well-formed outcome should look like. And one of them, chief and foremost among them, was that it be something that was stated in the positive, right? You've got to come up with some positively stated outcome. We all know, of course, that's useful because we could argue the unconscious mind needs something to focus on. It needs a target to move for. Also, the idea that if it's something that's something pretty, something attractive, then it only makes sense, doesn't it, that that's something that we might be drawn towards. So it can give us some motivation. But so by the way, some of you may be familiar with the benefits technique, or another way to say it is essentially, and I don't know if this is exactly the same thing in your thinking, but something that I would call direct positive suggestion. And in fact, a number of you may have experienced an exercise that a lot of us do from time to time. I don't know where it comes. Oh, well, actually, no, I think that it probably comes again from Stephen, from my teacher originally. But I know Melissa Tiers uses it in programs, and if you've seen her, I think Karen Hand has used it in a few things, and so maybe you've seen it. or maybe you've even seen it with by some other name, because I don't want to hold it out as something particularly special or unusual. But in this particular technique or this particular approach, what you do is in the interview with the client at the beginning, you get a whole bunch of information about what will be the benefits for them of achieving this goal, right? What will they get out of it? What will it do for them? Why do they want it? You get the description from them of what it's like. Then we've done that in the interview. Then booga, booga, booga. We've instituted hypnosis. And now what we say to them, so they said while we were interviewing them, I want to be more successful in public speaking. Now we're in a trance and we say to them, and you can be more successful in public speaking in a variety of ways. And we say to them, and your success in public speaking will enrich your career, if that's one of the things that they said, and et cetera, the various things that they said, we simply feed back to them. And that's a pretty interesting approach, isn't it, for doing direct suggestion hypnosis. Particularly what I like about it, and you'll see why this is kind of a favorite to me, is that really all of the suggestions come from the client.
I leapt straight into the magical world of NLP and timeline therapy, blown away by the possibilities. What I realized through practitioner training was that I was the most important client of them all, and that I was in desperate need of fixing myself before I could help others. I dealt with so much stuff, but I wanted more. The perfectionist in me wanted to be able to help my clients to the absolute best of my ability. And in order to do that, I had to fix much more of myself on a much deeper level. Learning about the power of the subconscious mind and understanding the importance of the mind-body connection, I immediately booked to further my studies and push into master training, which included hypnosis. My shell lifted off entirely. The little bubble I was living in burst, and I was hit with the harsh reality that I was the problem. The choices I made got me to where I was then, but they also got me to where I am today, which is in a space where my brain is able to actively absorb all the knowledge with the excitement of finally having the tools to do something about my mindset. I finally understood so much more of what happened in my life and how it affected me. I also had direction with how I wanted to live my life and raise my children. The biggest mental hurdle was ridding myself of the constant why me mentality. Why did I have to go through all of this pain in order to learn lessons? Why is my child so aggressive when all I'm doing is showing him love? Also, what was my understanding of love? I was slowly watching my son turn into my father with his aggression and physical outbursts. Yet the venomous victim syndrome I was in wasn't allowing me to actually see all of the emotional baggage I was handing over to him and not helping him at all with. I didn't for once consider that my poor little guy would be affected by the loss of the pregnancies, despite the fact that he was the one who would identify I was pregnant before I even knew. He knew their genders, and he also knew that they weren't going to stay. Yet I was trapped in this space where all of this is happening to me. I didn't see or want to believe that my strength through everything was the cause of his anxiety. And where was it coming from? My questions progressed from why me to why not me. Every possibility to rectify everything was handed to me through these lessons. And it was by going deep inside and finding root causes for why I felt the way I did, and why I was causing more pain by avoiding it to myself and to my loved ones around me, that led me to actively start healing subconsciously, in essence, wiping the slate clean, doing the work every day in order to consciously thrive.